glory is the simple Kuntis. All glory is the simple Kuntis. All glory is to Shri Guru and Gauranga Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Okay, so before we take Krishnam, anyone have any questions about Krishna consciousness? So a lot of nice devotees here. You have enough Krishnam, everybody? All right. Thank you all for joining us. Does someone have a question or a topic they'd like to hear about? Yes.
I know the spiritual master is always present with the disciple, but how does one cope when the spiritual master physically departs?
Oh my God. I'm still here. Her question, those of you who haven't heard it, she says, how does one deal with things when the spiritual master departs from this world? And I answered, I'm still here. So it's an interesting question, which was answered by Srila Prabhupada in the 4th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. In the 4th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, you have a queen whose husband passes away. And what she does, she starts crying, obviously. Husband passes away, she cries. And Prabhupada says, drawing a parallel, he says, similarly, the disciple cries upon the departure of the spiritual master. Of course, we don't say the spiritual master dies. We say he left this world, departed, or entered into Krishna's eternal Leela. Om Pravishtam Pravishta, Nitya Leela. So anyway, so then after that, one has to come to the realization of something called the Vani. Like there's two aspects to the spiritual master. One is called Vani and the other one's called Vapu. Vapu means the form of the spiritual master. Vani means the instructions. And we're not only just talking about when the spiritual master passes away, but also when he gets in an airplane and goes away. Because that's a fact. We cannot, just like in the case of Srila Prabhupada and Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Prabhupada, we saw him maybe 5 times, physically in the same room, 5 times. Yet, Prabhupada was always concentrated on the Vani or instructions of his spiritual master. And for Prabhupada, whether his spiritual master was physically on the planet or not physically on the planet, he actually acted the same. So the point is that we should act the same regardless, except when the spiritual master physically leaves, it actually should be an impetus, like stimulation, impetus, for us to become more completely dedicated to the order of the spiritual master. And Prabhupada showed this too. And in the 4th canto of Bhagavatam, there's this whole elaborate purport in which Srila Prabhupada states that unless one is ready to fulfill the order of the spiritual master and carry out the mission of the spiritual master, one should be ready to leave this world with the Guru. And not that, I'm not suggesting that. We don't need people committing suicide, drinking the poison that they usually do in Fiji, insecticide. We don't need people to do that. But the mood should be there. Just like Prabhupada gave the example in the same purport, that originally in India, when the husband would pass away, the wife would jump on the funeral pyre. And she would, this called sati rites. And so Madri did that with Pandu. However, Kunti didn't do it because she had the mission of Pandu to carry out. What was that mission? Take care of the Pandavas, obviously. And Madri, she couldn't really take care of the Pandavas properly because she favored her own children, Nakula and Sahadev. So therefore it was decided that Madri would leave this world with Pandu and Kunti would stay. So in other words, we are staying in this world, myself, I'm staying in this world after the departure of Srila Prabhupada, which happened almost 50 years ago. Why am I still here? Because I became, or was, dedicated to Prabhupada's mission. And I saw that Prabhupada was manifest in sound vibration, like Bhaktivinoda Thakur states. He reasons ill who says that Vaishnavas died when thou art living still in sound. So, famous quote. That quote was written on the samadhi of Haridas Thakur in Jagannath Puri. He reasons ill and says that Vaishnavas died, thou art living still in sound. And living spread the holy name around. Anyway, so that's Bhaktivinoda Thakur's statement. So I realized that in separation from Prabhupada and serving Prabhupada through his words, mission, then I'm actually connected with Prabhupada. And my connection with Prabhupada now is stronger than it was almost 50 years ago because of my dedication. Because relationships, spiritual relationships, are not determined upon physical proximity, closeness. There's nothing to do with it. Material relationships are conditioned upon that. Therefore, when we're not with the person, we're just wondering what they're doing. And basically, that's why we have to go on the internet. We check on Guru Maharaj with Facebook. Oh, here's Guru Maharaj. There he is, Guru Maharaj. But now, the Guru passes away. One has to check on the Guru through the intense separation and service. So it's better than Facebook, and more ecstatic than Facebook. So anyway, so that's how one deals with the situation, and it's inevitable. Everyone passes away in this world. We never thought Prabhupada was going to pass away, but Prabhupada passed away, and we had to deal with it. And we cried, and then we dedicated our lives to Prabhupada's mission, and that's why we're here today. Because my connection to Prabhupada is serving his mission. Like Kunti's connection to Pandu was serving his mission, his children. So I'm serving everyone who, a real sense, is related to Prabhupada, grandchildren. So I'm serving Prabhupada's grandchildren and some great-grandchildren. Right? And then when I pass away, it's just whatever. People go on serving. There's a mission. What is that mission? It's Prabhupada's mission. My mission is not different than Prabhupada's mission. My mission is you serve Prabhupada by making more devotees and happier devotees, and make sure the devotees are chanting Hare Krishna. When you're not chanting Hare Krishna, how can you go to serve a devotee? The word devotee means someone who is devoted. It's not just like a label. You put on your tilak and dhoti or sari, and you're a devotee. No, it's not that. It's not a cheap thing. You have to be devoted. It's really important. We have a lot of people who dress like that, but they may not be fully devotees. Or they aspiring devotees. Okay, any other questions? That's a good question. Yeah.
Maharaj, yesterday you told the story of Bhrigu Muni, and then at Parijata Mataji's house.
Yeah.
And then the Krishna book, I think, the Krishna book says that afterwards, instead of getting angry, Lord Vishnu apologized and massaged his feet, saying that my chest is very hard. So, what I'm going to ask is very relevant to me. Like, how can devotees be tolerant, or become more tolerant?
That's an interesting question. So what, anyone who would kick you in your chest? Actually, it's heavier. If someone says some cruel words, it's actually more painful than someone kicking you in the chest. Well, there's several things we do. We become more tolerant because we're devoted to Krishna and our spiritual master. And we think, what would they want me to do in that circumstance? That's what I try to do. Whenever I'm in a particular circumstance where there's a judgment call, you know, people do insult me too. I'm not immune from that. You know, go on the internet, people are very expert in insulting everybody. You know, even they insult the people who cared for Prabhupada in the final days of this world. So anyway, so you just think, how does Krishna want me to respond? And does Krishna wants me to respond in a compassionate way? And I also understand that when people criticize me or hurt me, they're actually dealing with their own issues, not me. I'm just a convenient object, but actually it's internally they're struggling with their own anger issues or, you know, frustration. And so I try to think compassionately about them. So these people are suffering. Just like Haridas Thakur. He was thinking compassionately about the people who are feeding him. Or even in the Christian religion, you have Jesus Christ. He was thinking about the people who are putting him on the cross compassionately. So that is how we should be. I mean, of course, it's a very high level. One has to cultivate the mode of goodness. Because in this story of the Krishna book, Brigamuni was trying to understand which of the three presiding deities is in goodness, and only Lord Vishnu was. So that's really the point. So the point is we should cultivate goodness. How do we cultivate goodness? We cultivate goodness by obtaining knowledge. We cultivate goodness by eating food in the mode of goodness, by associating with people in the mode of goodness, and not watching so many rugby games. I know in Fiji you like rugby or whatever, but you watch it and it just puts you in the mode of ignorance. When you watch it, you go, ooh. It's like gorillas. You become like a gorilla. I've seen. I mean, I don't watch rugby. But one time I was in the airport in New Zealand, and we went into this room, the lounge. And the lounge had a big TV. And then there were the New Zealand people, I think they're called the All Blacks or something like that, right? And then the Fiji Flyers or whatever you call it. What do you call them?
Flying pigeons.
The Drua. Drua. It even sounds like it. You know? So, and people were watching. This is New Zealand. People were grunting. It's like a bunch of bears and monkeys or something like that. So, you think you can't cultivate the mode of goodness like that. If you really want to cultivate, the mode of ignorance, that's a great way to cultivate the mode of ignorance. Or by going into a nightclub. One time I was here in Fiji, and one devotee was running a nightclub. And he wanted to show me his nightclub. I won't mention his name. Some of you might know who I'm talking about. I don't know if he's still around. I mean, he's been in jail a few times. So anyway, so he opened the door, and I said, oh my God, get me out of here. These Yamarajas are filling. It was like hell. I can't believe it. You know, smoke filling the room, everybody, loud noises, and just like people like shaking their bodies. So that's if you want to cultivate the mode of ignorance. Anyway, if you want to cultivate the mode of passion, you just eat a lot of chili peppers. So there's different ways of, and want to cultivate the mode of goodness, you cultivate compassion, tolerance, That's the mode of goodness. So basically, that's how you become more, you cultivate the mode of goodness. And Lord Vishnu, he's definitely the mode of goodness. I mean, Lord Shiva is a pure devotee, obviously. But he's also Ashutosh, right? So if you say the wrong thing to him, you're finished. He's easily pleased. And he's easily angered. It's like you ever come across a drunk person, it's like that too. That they're easily pleased. But Lord Shiva is transcendental. Don't get me wrong. I'm not criticizing. But that's the manifestation. Drunk person, he appears to be happy 1 second, the next second he gets violent. So, good question. Yes.
Maharaj,
Sure.
my question is related to the three modes of nature. In the third canto, when Lord Kapil describes the Sankhya philosophy, there's a portion where he says that devotional service can be performed in the mode of ignorance,
passion and goodness.
Yeah. So my question is the destination of the one who is performing at least the mode of goodness.
Yeah, well, the mode of ignorance, they're angry, proud, they're separatists. That's what Lord Kapila says. And, obviously in the mode of passion, they're also separatists, but they're more interested in their fruit of gain. In the mode of material goodness, they actually want to become free of the material world and liberated. And in the he gives actually four modes in the third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. And in transcendental devotional service, their consciousness is like the rivers that flow down into the ocean. They flow down hearing Krishna Katha. So that's the transcendental mode of goodness. But in the mode of goodness, their motivation is to get liberated. So it's still self-centered. That's why Krishna says one has to transcend the modes of nature. So you have to transcend. Mamchiyo vyavicharayana bhakti yogin sevde sagunan samati chaita Rama Bhuyaya Kalpate. One who performs devotional service in the proper mood with determination. Yavacharena. Yavachari Bhakti means determination, mode of goodness. Sagunan samati chaita. He transcends the modes of nature. And he becomes established in the spirit of the mind. So, we're interested in transcendental devotional service, but we also understand, it's also explained there in the purport, in the Bhagavatam, that we understand that people come to Krishna consciousness for various purposes. Krishna himself states that in the Gita, Chaturvidha Vachantima. People come to me because they're looking for wealth. That's passion. People come to me because they're in distress. People come to me because they want knowledge. There's goodness right there. So there's different motives why people come to Krishna. I mean, like we mentioned in the Murari story, he came to Krishna consciousness out of fear. Also in the Valmiki story, it's a similar thing. He was afraid of his karma. So he started chanting Mara, Mara, Mara. And the Jamil, yes, I guess a little fear. The Yamadutas helped push him to Krishna's lotus feet. And so the Yamadutas. So everyone comes for different reasons, so we don't really want to be heavy with people and so condemning if someone has some ulterior or other purpose for coming to Krishna consciousness. I mean, devotee is Kripa Sindhu. We just have to take that purpose and engage it in Krishna service. That's called dovetailing. All right, like Prabhupada even said, join our movement, and if you're looking for some nice wife, we can give you a nice wife. That's definitely not goodness. That's, that's passion. You want a beautiful wife, so people come. And anyway, whatever. mode of passion is born of unlimited desires. And then happiness in the mode of passion is like nectar in the beginning, and at the end is like poison. But happiness in the mode of goodness is like poison in the beginning, it's a little struggle, and then at the end it's like nectar. So one has to, in goodness, one has to accept some austerity or sacrifice for a higher goal. So goodness means a higher goal. You ever say, anyway. So, okay. Oh my God, so many questions. You have a question back there.
Gurudev, how can we respectfully inspire our families to support and take interest in Krishna consciousness, especially our parents?
Don't try. Yeah, don't try with parents. As soon as a kid starts preaching to the parents, or as soon as a wife starts preaching to her husband, there's trouble. All you do is set a good example. Like Prabhupada's sister was married to someone who was a drunkard and beating him. So she just acted perfectly as a saint, and he realized that Krishna has given him a first-class wife, and then he became Krishna conscious at the end. And also there's that story about Markandeya Rishi. There was a man with leprosy, and his wife was so chaste that she was working for him and even taking him to a prostitute. And so he touched Markandeya Rishi, who was cursed to die before the sun rose the next day. And then his wife said, I'm not going to let the sun rise. She was such a good devotee. She stopped the sun from rising. So if you become such a good devotee and have saintly qualities, your parents will be impressed with you. And they will also want to be devotees. They'll think, Krishna has given me such a nice son. Wow, there must be something real about Krishna consciousness. But if you start to preach to them, they will hate Krishna consciousness. You understand? Just be a better son. When you see your parents, touch their feet. How many kids do that? You do that? Anyway, so just like Prabhupada, there was two of my godbrothers, Gargamuni and Brahmananda. Their mother came. First Prabhupada tried preaching to them, to her. He said, can you give a donation? And they said, we've already donated our kids. Why do you want money too? And then Prabhupada said, touch your mother's feet. So he made these two boys. And in the West, you never touch your parents' feet. I mean, it's completely unheard of. They bowed down and touched their mother's feet. And Prabhupada did that sometimes at initiations. He'd have the children touch their parents' feet if the parents were there at the initiation ceremony. So be such a nice son that the parents are just like, wow, I should try this Krishna consciousness. Then your father will send his wife, because he thinks I need a nice wife too. Because she talks back too much. So he thinks, oh, I send her to the temple, she won't talk back so much. That doesn't always work. Okay, one more question on this, Prashad.
This is from another devotee. In morning class, Maharaj said devotees' successes are their endeavors, not the result. Our question is, if a devotee has 100% intense spiritual desire to execute any particular service in Krishna consciousness, is there any possibility that Krishna may not fulfill that spiritual desire?
That's right. There's every possibility. Because Krishna has a plan. I gave the example of Prabhupada. He had the intense desire to make money so he could preach. And that was a pure desire. But Krishna didn't fulfill that desire. Krishna steered him in a different direction, so he would go to the Western world in a different way. So yeah, that's a very common thing. It's not that just because our desire is pure, Krishna will let us do a strategy that he disagrees with. You know, he has to also He likes the desire, but he also has a strategy. Do you understand? Two things, desire and strategy. Okay, time for prasadam. All glories to Shri Prabhupada, Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Prasadam ki jai.